Welcome to our latest Wandering Walks of Wonder walking tour. Today we're headed to the historic town of Baxter Springs, Kansas. Baxter Springs is the first cow town here in Kansas, as well as sitting right on historic Route 66. Our tour begins here in front of the Baxter Springs Visitor Center, which was once an independent oil and gas service station. During the early years of the oil boom in Oklahoma, Edward Moore formed the Independent Oil and Gas Company. In the early 1920s, Wade Phillips, who was one of the richest oil tycoons at the time, became chairman of Independent Oil. Oil and gas service companies were looking for ways to attract motorists to their service stations, and one of the best ways of doing so was coming up with the design for a service station that would be easily recognizable by motorists as they traveled the major roads across the U.S. This was especially important along Route 66 because the large number of people traveling from the Midwest to California were looking for better opportunities. This gas station here was designed and built in the 1930s, and today continues to be the visitor center for Baxter Springs. Before Baxter Springs emerged as a settlement, its natural mineral springs drew Osage Indians seeking solace on their journeys to summer hunting grounds. Chief Black Dog and his tribe revered these springs, believing in their mystical healing powers. Though the springs have now since vanished, they once flowed just a little bit south of here on East 7th Street. In the spring of 1849, Reverend John Baxter, accompanied by his wife and 8 children, migrated from Missouri to settle on 160 acres of land near the Spring River. Here, Reverend Baxter established Baxter's Place, an inn and general store. Tragically, Baxter's dream of a thriving city bearing his name was cut short. The Reverend, known for his vigilant preaching and prowess with the firearm, met his end in a fatal property dispute in 1859, leaving behind a legacy that's intertwined with the genesis of Baxter Springs. Just a little bit south of here in 1862 was Fort Blair. It was a bulwark against Confederate raids on Kansas during the Civil War. On October 6, 1863, Confederate guerrillas led by William Quantrell assailed the fort before proceeding to ambush Union troops led by General James G. Blunt en route to Fort Smith. Nearly 100 Union soldiers fell victim to the guerrilla onslaught, and their final resting place is now marked by the Baxter Springs Cemetery just west of town. There are several historic buildings here in Baxter Springs. One of those is the Johnston Library. In 1905, Niles Johnston donated $5,000 to Baxter Springs to open a new library building and furnish it with books. Rather than construct a new building to house the library, voters of Baxter Springs decided to convert the City Hall building into the new library and build another City Hall structure several blocks away, which we'll see in just a bit. The building was renamed Johnston Library in honor of Mr. Johnston's donation. Following the war's end in 1865, Baxter Springs emerged as a vital point for the Texas cattle trade. With Missouri under quarantine restrictions, Baxter Springs extended a hospitable embrace to Texas ranchers. The community swiftly developed expansive stockyard boasting corrals capable of accommodating 20,000 head of cattle, alongside ample range land endowed with lush grass and abundant water sources. Yet, amid this veneer of prosperity, Baxter Springs earned a notoriety as one of the untamed frontier's most raucous cow towns. In 1868, Baxter Springs attained city status with approximately 1,500 inhabitants. The municipal administration embarked on a bold initiative and issued $150,000 in bonds to allure the Missouri River, Fort Scott, and Gulf Railroad to extend its tracks into southeastern Kansas. That gamble paid off when on May 12, 1877, the Missouri, Kansas, and Texas Railroad arrived, outstripping competitors and catalyzing a population boom that swelled to 6,000 residents within just 2 years. Yet the town's prosperity proved fleeting as the railroad soon redirected its expansion southward precipitating the demise of Baxter Springs' once thriving cattle industry. Nevertheless, the town clung to its storied legacy, exemplified by a dramatic event in 1872 when Mayor J.R. Boyd fatally shot City Marshal C.M. Taylor amidst a dispute over a warrant for arrest. In a notorious incident on April 12, 1876, members of the James Younger Gang, Charlie Pitts and Bill Chadwell, staged a daring robbery at the Crowell State Bank in Baxter Springs. Though speculation swirled regarding the involvement of Jesse and Frank James, they were not cited during the heist. While local lore persists, historians cast doubt on the James brothers' direct involvement, suggesting they were not really that close to Baxter Springs at the time of the robbery. Today, the site of the infamous bank heist is home to the quaint cafe on Route 66, which once existed but no longer is in business. In the latter part of the 19th century, the discovery of lead and zinc deposits across the state line of Missouri proved to be a boon for Baxter Springs, bolstering its economy and attracting a surge of new residents. As mining operations expanded into the southeast corner of Kansas, the town reclaimed its status as a thriving business hub. With the influx of miners, the allure of the mineral springs waned, and the once popular bathing sites fell into disuse. One of the most historic events on top of the cattle industry that came to Baxter Springs occurred in 1926 when Route 66 brought fresh opportunities for Baxter Springs. The iconic highway traversed the town, sparking the emergence of gas stations, cafes, and motor courts, which injected a new stream of revenue into the local economy. In the 1930s, Baxter Springs found itself entwined in the legend of Bonnie and Clyde. The notorious duo allegedly targeted the Baxter Springs General Store and supposedly robbed it twice in the span of a single week. According to folklore, Bonnie and Clyde's brazen exploits left an indelible mark on the town's history. In the late 1940s, another legend emerged on Baxter Springs baseball fields. Mickey Mantle, hailing from nearby Commerce, Oklahoma, joined the Baxter Springs Whiz Kids for 3 remarkable years. It was during a game in 1949 that Mantle famously launched a baseball into the Spring River. This fortuitous incident caught the attention of Tom Greenwade, a scout for the New York Yankees, who promptly signed Mantle to play professionally, launching the baseball legend's illustrious career. In the 1970s, the decline of mining cast a shadow over much of southeast Kansas, leaving behind a landscape scarred by its legacy. Yet amidst this upheaval, Baxter Springs has proven resilient, navigating the shifting tides through a diversification of business and agriculture as well as industry. We're walking here past on our right the Ritz movie theater. The Ritz began as the John N. Cooper dry goods and clothing store in the late 1880s. The upper floor of the 3-story building was once used as a meeting location for the local Masonic group. In 1926, the building was converted into the Ritz Theater. That was the same year Route 66 was created. The first movie shown on the theater was a silent film called The Ancient Highway. The movie theater closed in 1956 and was remodeled and converted for a while into the Blue Castle restaurant. For many decades, the building is set unused and has been restored back, though, to a functional movie theater. Here on our right is the Route 66 soda fountain. This soda fountain once housed a building that was the Oklahoma Tire and Supply Store in the 1940s. When that store closed, it became a coast-to-coast hardware store. In 2006, the building was purchased by the Abernathy Charitable Trust and lovingly restored to resemble the appearance of a 1940s era soda fountain. Although the soda fountain is not open to the public, it is used as a community youth center and educational facility. It's still fun to peek inside to see what a soda fountain may have looked like in the heyday of Route 66 travels. Here on our right once stood the Indiana Hotel. One of the first hotels to open in Baxter Springs was the Indiana Hotel. The initial hotel opened on this location around 1870. A businessman by the name of Christian Knoll purchased the Indiana Hotel in 1881, and he operated it until the hotel closed in the 1890s. In 1900, this building we see was completed. It was originally a feed store, then a grocery store, and now is used as office and retail space. In 1868, John Cooper opened the Illinois Cash Store that we see here right in front of us. It was one of the first grocery and dry goods stores in Baxter Springs. Cooper hailed from Illinois, so that's most likely why he called his store the Illinois Cash Store. In 1900, Cooper constructed this building after moving his grocery store just a block south. In 1914, notorious criminal Henry Starr robbed Baxter National Bank. Starr is best known as being the first criminal to ever use a getaway car after robbing a bank. Here on our right, where we see the large Baxter Bank sign, once stood Opperman's Harness and Saddle Shop. In 1871, J.P. Opperman immigrated from France to Baxter Springs. Recognizing that Baxter Springs was one of the largest cow towns in the area, Opperman quickly opened a harness and saddle shop. Given the number of cowboys, ranchers, and farmers who came to town in the late 1800s, it's no surprise that Opperman operated one of the most successful businesses in town. He became such a well-known leader that he served as mayor of Baxter Springs from 1883 to 1890. On our right once stood Bischofsberger's Hotel. In 1868, Julius Bischofsberger immigrated from Prussia to Baxter Springs. On this corner of Military Avenue and 10th Street, Bischofsberger built a wood-framed hotel and restaurant. He also owned the property across 10th Street where he operated a livery and feed business. Travelers could come to Baxter Springs, rest their heads on a fine bed, eat good food, and at the same time know that their horse and buggy was being well taken care of just a few feet away. In 1900, the hotel went out of business and the old wood frame building was torn down. In its place, this two-story brick building was constructed. For many years, it served as Baxter Springs Post Office, and the upper floors were used by the International Order of Odd Fellows as their lodge and meeting space. I hope you've enjoyed this Wandering Walks of Wonder tour here in historic downtown Baxter Springs, Kansas, sitting right on Route 66. If you've been to Baxter Springs, leave a comment about what your experiences are like, or have traveled Route 66, leave a comment about that as well. And make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And we'll see you on our next Wandering Walks of Wonder adventure. Take care now. Bye-bye.